In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Gerhard Mathangani.
Well, day one of practice was officially in the books after yesterday, and today it is another beautiful day out there at Hancock Whitney Stadium for day two of Senior Bowl practices. All of these guys looking to, improve their draft stock. Diego Pavia right there, a lot has been made about his size and can he project to the next level? He's trying to put all of those doubts to rest. Hello, everybody. Patrick Walsh here. Southeast Sports Plus continues on this fine Wednesday. Hopefully everyone's doing well. We've got a great show in store for you. As I mentioned, day two of Senior Bowl practices are officially underway right now. We'll also talk some basketball. Arkansas escaped a close one on the road against Oklahoma last night. And Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. We'll dive so much more into that. And Simone Eli goes one-on-one with Brent Venables, Oklahoma's head coach there. And then we've got our great guests on today, Mariah Ross out of Spartanburg, South Carolina, Courtney Mims out of Little Rock, Arkansas, and Corey Curtis out of Nashville. And without further ado, why don't we go ahead and send it down to Hancock Whitney Stadium, where Gerhard Mathangani is live behind the end zone. Gerhard, I got to ask, how's the weather today so far?
That's so much better, man. So much better. It is a lot warmer out here today than yesterday. And I think another big thing is that now all players have that first practice underneath their belt. You could tell that there's a lot more intention of what they're doing as far as going from drill to drill, going from the warm-ups to the next thing. And so I think everybody's feeling a little bit more comfortable because we did get that first day in. I think all of us in the media as well, because yesterday it's, you get your credentials and you after the welcoming party, and everybody's getting their feet wet day one, and now everybody's ready here for day two. But the weather is so much better, I'll tell you that off the jump. I don't know about tonight, and I know Saturday is going to be absolutely crazy as far as the weather goes here. So a lot of these guys that are preparing to play in the NFC North, whether it's Chicago or in the AFC North in Pittsburgh or Baltimore, they'll get a taste of it coming up on Saturday because it is going to be absolutely cold. Got a taste of it yesterday, but a nice reprieve here today, man.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure most of these guys that are from the SEC footprint that stayed in the SEC aren't really used to it being this cold at this point in the year.
Yep.
But talking about day one yesterday, what were some of your main takeaways from some of the guys who obviously have not really been here before and kind of seeing how they have gone through the process so far?
I think there's a couple of things. All eyes will definitely be on the quarterbacks, and especially after last year. Obviously, we had Jackson Dart, who came in here last year and improved his draft stock all the way up to a first rounder. The year before that, Michael Penix came in, had a really good Senior Bowl practice week. He ended up being a first round draft pick. Other guys, too, that we have seen come in and really parlay that success. A lot of times, too, here at the Senior Bowl, when they do team drills, it really all starts with the quarterback. If the quarterback fumbles the snap, the play dies. You don't know how well the offensive line did. You don't know how well the receivers do. You don't know how well the running back does because the play kind of dies right there. So I think that obviously the quarterback situation is going to be the headliner. Garrett Nussmeier, obviously, a really good quarterback 2 years ago at LSU, trying to give the NFL scouts, hey, what he was a couple seasons ago. Back in 2024, that was the real him, not 2025. I think he looked really sharp in the drills that we saw yesterday. Got a chance, obviously, to see Diego Pavia, the Heisman Trophy finalist, and a few others. Sawyer Robertson, really, you could see the whip on his arm. You could tell the reason why he was one of the nation's leading passers a season ago. So I had my eyes mainly on the quarterbacks yesterday. I want to watch a little bit more today, the receivers and DBs and those position drills. Those can always get really intense. And like we talked about yesterday, these lineman drills on the inside, they do them every week or every day of the week. They'll do a version of one-on-ones, and then they'll do the red zone plays, which are kind of must-watch television. So the quarterback's kind of where it started yesterday, and just to see where the hype was as it relates to where the substance is, and it kind of sets the table for the next 2 days. And now we're here with the beginning of the national practice on day two.
We'll go ahead and talk about the quarterbacks at the top of hour two. I want to focus on the defensive side right now because there's been a few clips from yesterday's first practice, most notably the Michigan D lineman just bulldozing the Miami offensive lineman, but also looked like Kieron Crawford threw an in-state rival Alabama guy down. What was the atmosphere like when that happened? And is there that juice that everyone likes to talk about in the air right now?
Yeah, so that was in a one-on-one drill. You're talking about the Auburn-Alabama battle. And, of course, when those two helmets just get up in a one-on-one situation, everything ratchets it up anyways. And so all the guys knew it as well. But you're right, Keon Crawford, he came in. I mean, obviously people knew about his talent, but he was a bit overshadowed because Keldrick Falk was going to be a first-round pick, and he was obviously the main guy. But Crawford came in and obviously battling, going one-on-one with the Alabama offensive line. But what I found hilarious was the hype even started before that drill started. And so then once those two, locked horns, so to speak, it was a lot of fun, So it was great to see both teams, Alabama and Auburn. And we're seeing a lot of rivals here that are locking horns, but that matchup in particular was really good. And so I want to see how the defense responds today in the American practice. Same thing here with the offensive practice. But you mentioned that Iron Bowl rivalry. We got a chance to hear from those guys after that matchup and after practice.
It went pretty good. I just got to get more adjusted and get back into it. But I'm ready to dominate tomorrow. I'm ready to run through somebody and ready to show the NFL coaches what I'm really about. I got one word. It's more of opportunity. Just taking more of my opportunity and making the most of it is the biggest thing. I feel like the opportunity it's something that's slim to none to many most, and a lot of people don't want to be in this position. So just making the most of opportunity is like the biggest thing. Jalen McLeod, I talked to him a lot this week and last week, just getting prepared on like what the meeting is going to be like, what the week is going to be like, and just how compact it's going to get. And you just got to be able to show your best, and being able to communicate and be yourself is like the biggest part of it.
Mr. Crawford there, basically, talking a little bit about his time here at the Senior Bowl, but also you mentioned yesterday that Jalen McLeod was one of the guys that really showed him the ropes from last year. Said, hey, this is what to expect when you're talking to the recruiters. This is what to expect when you're talking to the coaches and the scouts. So all these Auburn and Alabama guys, because there are so many that come year after year after year, you almost kind of get the answers to the test before you even get here to Mobile. And then, of course, there's a lot of Alabama and Auburn jerseys that are in the stands, and you see a lot of Auburn and Alabama fans that are in the stands there as well. Tim Keenan is another guy that's down here as well. Keenan's a guy that I think if you were to judge, I think maybe towards the end of last year, the beginning of this year, people thought he might have been able to play his way into the first round. He is here. But at the beginning of the season, remember, he suffered that ankle injury, so he was banged up at the beginning of the year. But now he's got a chance here to kind of redeem himself against the best of the best offensive linemen. I know that Alabama's O-line was kind of ballyhooed over the course of the regular season, but he's got a chance here to kind of prove it to the best of the best here, and we got a chance to hear from him yesterday as well.
Well, with NIL, things are out of our control, but Coach Roach, he's a great coach. You feel me? You talking to me right now, and I wasn't the player that I was when I first walked into Bama. So, I was able to stay there and develop. When you're there for 5 years, you're able to, go through ups and downs, you get the humility, and you're able to have that player development from your coach and from the university to understand the culture, to understand the play. So with NIL and transfers and stuff like that, it's kind of hard to, pour into a kid when you don't know if he's going to be there the next year or two. So the Coach Rose he did a great job developing me. Being Tim Keenan III, I be the best me, and that's all I need to be. Coming in here, controlling the run, having fun, leading, making the plays that come to me because I'm a momentum starter, momentum shifter. I'm the spark plug when it comes to it. So I make your job easier, and also too just communicating. Yes, competition. Yeah, we all trying to get a job, but at the end of the day, we trying to whoop the old lineman. Oh, it was great. It's a great environment. I had to compete with guys I usually don't play next to, but it's been fun. And it's like, oh man, if we was all on the same team, it'll be hell. But yeah, it's been fun playing with some new guys. It's an honor and a blessing, and too, like Mobile, that's showing a lot of love. So to be able to have that home field advantage, to have the love from the fans, to come out here and compete, it's definitely a blessing to me.
So you heard the objective there, whoop the O-line. It's just kind of very matter-of-fact about what he wanted to do moving forward. We'll see what it looks like here in day two. But the competitive juices are really flowing, usually at the beginning of practice. We saw this yesterday as well. It's melancholy is not the right word, but it's just a little bit more tame. The energy's down a little bit. It picks up as the one-on-ones get there as well. So everybody's a lot more business-like here at the beginning part of practice. We saw that yesterday and today as well, and I expect it to ratchet up here over the next couple of hours in Senior Bowl practice day two, the national team on the field.
Yeah, and you know we like to play games on this show. So why don't we go ahead and put ourselves in the boots of the scouts, so to speak. Let's start with Tim Keenan. What do you think is an accurate projection for him going in the draft this year?
He's a big guy, a mauler, and I kind of take what Drew Fabianich said because he's a former scout. And I actually want to pick the brains of former scouts and find out some about these guys, the guys that can, boost that projection going into next year. With Tim Keenan for now, I think he can play himself into that day 2, possibly even into maybe day 1 if he looks good at the combine and everything else. The problem with him has been about his health, obviously, so everybody wants to make sure that he's fine there. I think Keenan could play himself there into day 2 with a good showing here at the Senior Bowl.
How about on the other side, Kieran Crawford?
For Crawford, I think that he could possibly play himself into day 2 there as well. The thing about him, obviously, I think he'll have to show it not only here, but also at the Pro Day and at the Combine. And I think that once he lines up at the Pro Day, at Auburn's Pro Day, and he is side by side with Keldrick Falk, and you're seeing all the similarities between those guys, you'll take the tape from the Senior Bowl, then you'll take his tape from the Combine if he ends up going, and then take his tape from the Pro Day. And I think if people are like, oh, hey, you know what, this guy is actually maybe not just as good, but in that same ballpark as Falk, you can see a major rise in his draft stock. So I can see him playing himself into day 2 there as well for both those guys. And of course, we talked about injuries being one thing. You have to obviously test well and everything else and all the metrics. I think both guys do that. Both guys are NFL bodies. It's just where they're slated in the drafts coming up in April.
Awesome stuff there, G. We'll get back out to you at the top of hour 2. We'll let you get to it. Gotta go ahead and enjoy day 2 and the nicer weather so far. But, hey, take care, man.
You bet. We'll have some more stuff here from day 2. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. That's G Money, as we like to call him here on this show, out at Hancock Whitney Stadium, day 2 of Senior Bowl practices. We'll come back to here. Let's go over to the hardwood here after the break. We're going to go out to Spartanburg, South Carolina, check in with Mariah Ross. South Carolina Gamecocks women basketball. They're doing pretty good right now. She has the latest next. Welcome back into Thursday's edition of Southeast Sports Plus. Patrick Walsh joining you on this fine Thursday. And we're going to head out to Lexington, Kentucky and check in with Colby Wilson. Colby, I think the last time we talked with you, this Kentucky team was really starting to figure some things out. They went on a 5-game win streak, but ended up dropping this one to Vanderbilt on Tuesday. What were your main takeaways from that game?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like you said, it looked like this team was on the up and up, a 5-game winning streak. Big Blue Nation pleased, the energy completely different here in Lexington. And then they go to Vandy, and it looks like just back to where they were against that game against Missouri. I mean, what you thought was not an issue anymore, which was the effort, now looked like another problem. Just all around, not good. Defensively, offensively. I mean, there was certain plays that even it was like, are we okay? Like there was one where Malachi inbounded the ball to Otega, and then Otega walked back out of bounds, and then that was a turnover. So just little things like that. I think Big Blue Nation's back to like what is going on. But I think most importantly, it's the effort that people are like, where did that go?
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's not even so much the fact that you went down by 20 at halftime, because obviously the team had proven in the recent games that they could overcome basically any deficit. But I think at some point you've got to stop digging yourself this hole to start the game, because you can't just rely on it every game, right?
Right. And, Mark Pope has said some things in his pressers that people don't fully agree with in terms of like, we're a second half team. We go into halftime still confident because this is what we can do. And, that only works for so long, because you're going to go out against Vanderbilt and against good teams. Vanderbilt is a good team, and they're not going to allow you to do that. And so also, I don't think that's what you want the DNA of your team to be, as a second half team where you go down 20, 25 in the first half and come back out and have to always dig yourself out of that hole. I don't think that's feasible every single game. And so I think that's a DNA they wore fairly well, but I think they need to slowly shake that off, because as they go down this next stretch of games that's brutal, that's not going to work.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like at the beginning of the season, we were talking about Otega Owe not really playing up to par, up to the preseason SEC Player of the Year. But I feel like, in my opinion, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like now it's shifting more away from the guards, but rather the bigs. It seems like the bigs aren't really pulling their weight. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, I would say that's very fair. Obviously, you think about bigs on this team and who's been productive so far this season. That's Malachi Marino, the freshman, just right out of here in Georgetown. But I think there was a comment made after this last game in terms of him on the glass, and he's been great on the glass so far this season, but he made a comment saying he kind of felt like Pope was saying he might feel like he's the only one trying to get those rebounds, and that it needs to be more of a collective group effort. But other than Malachi, it's hard to say any big that's really just consistently stepped up each game.
We heard from Mark Pope after the game. Let's take a listen.
I think we sped ourselves up. We weren't functioning at a high level offensively, in the sense of, actually, I thought we got really good, like we made really good decisions until the finish of a play. When you look at the film, like, I actually like that. I like this. There was so much we liked, and sometimes that happens, man, where. We just didn't finish, and then we started to compound our own problems. So we're, I think 5 minutes left. The score's 7-4, and I'm sorry, 5 minutes into the first half, it's 15:05 or whatever. It's 7-4, and our ball in transition. And so all the stuff that happened in the first 5 minutes that hadn't felt great, we'd managed to kind of, and we weren't, we gave up a couple of transition baskets, but otherwise we were pretty solid defensively. But I think it just started to jump on our backs a little bit, and then we turned the ball over consecutively 4 out of 5 possessions, and each one was you could feel the temperature a little bit, until the third turnover was inexplicably something we've never done since the first day we started in the summer, and so we kind of it was a little bit of a self-imposed deal. Credit to Vanderbilt for playing hard and keeping the pace, but I think we kind of got in our own way a little bit.
So Mark Pope kind of talking about how they got in their own way and Vanderbilt was able to speed them up a little bit in the game. I want to jump ship to basically a big picture question. We heard Curt Cignetti talk after winning the national championship that, basically him being able to win there at Indiana, now it can open up for some of the funding from these donors. I mean, Mark Cuban has basically added his funding to the Indiana program. Are you a little bit concerned now, seeing that Kentucky has this $22 million roster? They have already hit their 7th loss of the season, that, these donors are going to be a little bit hesitant moving forward, dishing out so much money to this team?
I feel like that is just more of a surface level concern. I think obviously donors are going to rethink, okay, how much money is this program that we want to feed into? But at the end of the day, like, Kentucky is this program, it's so historic. There's so much pride that goes into Kentucky basketball that I can't ever imagine these donors that have been supportive of this program for all these years just kind of throwing in the towel. Like, they wear that with so much pride. I don't think they ever want to see Kentucky, like, at the bottom where they're kind of headed right now. And so I really don't think that's a significant issue because, I mean, these donors want to see their team at the top. And so whatever they have to do that and fix the issue they're seeing right now, I think that they would be willing to do, in my opinion.
Well, let's turn our attention to this weekend's game because, it's just another game. There's definitely no meaning to this game by any means. It's definitely not John Calipari's second time going up against the Kentucky Wildcats. What has the emotion been in Lexington leading up to this game this weekend?
That's been a big question that everyone asks, but truly, like you said, it really is just another game.
Wow.
I do think that ship has sailed in terms of the emotion. I think, Cal, after that Oklahoma win, someone asked him, of course, about the game, and he said, it's just another game. And to be fair, last year he was walking into Rupp for the first time. His team was 1-6, and now he's walking in with the second best team in the SEC right now. So really, he has nothing to worry about. But I think ultimately, that the emotion in terms of Cal and him leaving, I think that is all sailed. And so I really do feel like both of these teams just go into it like it's another game. Yeah, it's Cal, but, we're going to win and do our thing. So I don't really think there's a whole lot of emotion in terms of last year.
You teed it up perfectly. Let's listen to Coach Cal.
I don't think so. But what I would say, it's the next game. And we're in a different position. We kind of flipped the switch. Like last year, we were like, what were we when we went to play them? And then we got them pretty good. But we were 1-6. Somebody said it was. I didn't care who it was. We needed to beat somebody. And now, the only significance of the game to me is we need to keep winning because let's stay pace with what's going on and people around us. And they're playing great. Mark Pope's doing a great job. He is. Look, for them to struggle and then to him to get him going, he's the right guy for that job.
Coach Cal taking a little dig at Mark Pope there, saying, oh, yeah, he's doing a great job. Do you think that's just gamesmanship, or do you think he's being actually serious about it?
I think Cal's a solid dude. I really do think there was no jabs at that. And
no Lane Kiffinisms?
No, I don't think any Lane Kiffinism. And to be fair, if anyone knows how hard this job is here, it's Cal. So I think the sympathy coming from him has to be at an all-time high.
Real quick before we let you go, let's flip over to the women's side. And it's been a little bit of a free fall here, dropping 3 in a row. What has been your big takeaway during this little skid that they're on?
Yeah, I mean, again, kind of like Pope in the men's team, it's the injuries, and they don't have as many, but Tiani Key, losing her was huge. And honestly, after they lost her, things kind of went downhill because, Kenny Brooks has said after games, look, we're just gassed. I mean, their rotation has been shortened because of Tiani, and then you have girls trying to step in that haven't gotten big minutes throughout the course of the beginning of the season. And so I think, just fitness-wise and just they're staying close in games, so you have to have players that can close games, and when they're playing almost all of the game, that gets hard at the end. So I think he did say they had a nice week off, so he's saying he just wants them to maintain their confidence as they go and play Arkansas on Sunday.
Got a prediction, or do you? I can't remember. Do you do predictions or no?
I told you guys I'm horrible at predictions, but I am
right.
predicting a Wildcats win. I think they will get it done against Arkansas.
On both fronts, or just the?
Ooh, that was more so for the women's. The men's, I have no more predictions anymore. I think you'll just find yourself in a hole regardless of what you're predicting for them.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems like it's heading to that point. But Colby, Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it, and stay warm up there.
Absolutely, always great joining you guys. Thank you.
Colby Wilson out of Lexington, Kentucky, as the Wildcats gear up for Arkansas on the men's and the women's side. Coming up next, we go up to Birmingham and we talk about the latest with Alabama forward Charles Bediako. We join Scott Griffin is joining us next. That and more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus. Hope everyone is having a great Wednesday. Hopefully everyone's dealing with some nicer weather now that we're starting to get to the midway point of the week. And, whenever we have our next guest on, I always like to pay attention to what her predictions are, Courtney's crystal ball. So without further ado, let's go over to Little Rock, Arkansas. Check in with Courtney Mims. Courtney, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday?
Well, we still got a lot of snow here, so it's hard to get around. People are just venturing out of their homes and getting out of the house. So many sports events have been canceled, but the Razorbacks, they'll play.
They will play.
They will play. They said, we don't care. The LSU bus, when it came here last Saturday we were just covered in snow. The LSU bus holding some assistant coaches actually got stuck going back to Baton Rouge.
Wow.
Here, just stuck. They couldn't get through, and so it's kind of crazy. They played that game, but I'm shocked, honestly, because the weather here, it's been crazy. But
you get more snow or ice?
We got sleet, a lot of sleet.
Okay.
So snow, sleet mix is what happened, and so it's kind of been a little weird getting around here, but we're here. Ready to talk some Arkansas basketball.
And I feel like weird is a great way to put this game last night for Arkansas into terms, because I was watching it for a little bit and I was like, man, they're really struggling with Oklahoma. And then I saw that they pulled out the 4-point win when they only hit 2 3-pointers. I mean, what was your big takeaway from the game?
Well, that was honestly one of the biggest ones for me. It was a win on the road, and this team so badly needed to win on the road because they've been so good at home. They are actually, believe it or not, they are the last SEC team that remains unbeaten at home this entire season. So they are the only ones who have not been beaten at home. So they're obviously good at Bud Walton Arena, and I wish Gerhard was here to go, the Bud Walton Arena magic, okay? That's what's going on.
I'll say it for him, the Bud Walton Arena magic.
Good. I love it, Patrick. But the other thing, like you mentioned, was 3-point shooting, right? They managed to come back from that deficit, right, without 3-point shooting because they just had a horrific time from behind the arc. 2 of 17, like you mentioned. Just not a good night for them. And this is, believe it or not, because I feel like Arkansas fans have a love-hate relationship with shooters and 3-point shooting, because so many times they've heard, they're going to be a good 3-point shooting team, and then the team just isn't. Yeah. And so this year, this team is very good. That's one of their strengths. And they went into this game top 20 in the nation in 3-point shooting. And so you take that away from them, right? You take that strength away, and suddenly Arkansas goes, oh no. That's a key part of our offense. So to me, it was not only impressive to go to Oklahoma, where, by the way, they were having like a free admission $2 beer popcorn night.
Oh man, that sounds electric.
it was awesome. Apparently it was one of the best atmospheres they've had this season.
I'm sure.
Because people did not care. They were like, we're coming out in the snow. We're coming out in the ice. We're going to go to this game.
Need those $2 beers.
Yeah, give me those $2 beers and popcorn. I'll take it. And so, and free admission as well, which is awesome. But that goes to show that this was a better win that some people would realize. And I really don't think you can hate on Oklahoma at all. I mean, Nigel Pack he was going off. He was going off in that first half. And I was like, they're not going to beat him. They're not going to beat this guy. And so, to me, there were a couple of good things from that win. Yes, it's Oklahoma. Yes, this team is, 1-7 in the SEC, but they're still talented and they've been close, right?
Right.
And last night, no different. They were close in beating Arkansas and taking down a top-ranked Arkansas team. And so, look, a lot of good things from that win. I know it was ugly, but you'd rather take an ugly win than a pretty loss, right?
Right. And I mean, that goes to what I was about to ask you, because we had seen this Arkansas team when things don't go their way earlier in the season. I mean, you talk about the Auburn game, things did not go their way at all, and they ended up getting rolled over. How impressive actually was this win, just being able to, you come in, 3-point shooting is one of your strong suits, but you don't have it tonight, but you still found a way to get the job done?
And I love just the tenacity they had in the paint, right?
Yeah.
Because that is something that we've criticized this team for at different points in the season. It's the play of the bigs, right? It's not the guard play. We know Darius Acuff is good. We know Malik Thomas is good. We know DJ Wagner is good. They're fine, right? It's when you talk about those bigs. Trevin Brazil showing up consistently night after night. Malik Ewan showing up consistently night after night. Nick Pringle, show up. I need you to show up, man. And so for us, exactly. And so that really helped them in this game, right? When you had the performance that you did from the bigs, right? Malik Ewan adding 12 points in this one. I'm just looking at the stats. Nick Pringle did, 8 points, but still showed up, right? We're talking about we need it from everybody. And Trevin Brazil on the boards was fabulous for them in that game as well. But that's what you needed. Points in the paint. I look at that stat and I go, Arkansas beat Oklahoma 56-30 with points in the paint. And so to me, that shows, okay, they were a lot more aggressive in this one. They were more aggressive at getting to the bucket. Okay, you took away 3-point shooting, right? For what? And some of them were just some open looks that just weren't falling.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them was just a bad shooting night, right? You're gonna have that.
Yeah,
You're gonna have that sometimes. But that's not working for you. Arkansas showed that they can. Okay, we can combat that. We're gonna beat you in a different way. And so to me, that was huge because I think Coach Cal was gonna turn around and go, yes. That's what we need. That's how we're going to be competitive going down the stretch. That's how we're going to be competitive when we hit tournament time.
Yeah.
You can't just go in, this is what we do well. Okay. Teams watch the tape. They're going to be well ready for you at that point. And some of these teams that you're going to match up with in March, you've already faced this season.
Exactly.
You've already faced off with some of the best teams in the nation. So they know what you're going to do. This showed me Arkansas can win in a different way. And I think Coach Cal as well went, all right, that was really, really good to see.
Coach Cal, always good for a good soundbite whenever you need it. Let's take a listen to Coach on his team's 3-point shooting from last night.
Well, I got a couple guys that are so good going to the rim, but they got that bag of tricks over here that they got to grab into and shoot contested threes. Like, why? When you go to the rim, you're either dunking it, grabbing, and one. Why would you do it? Well, that's part of me. I can really, okay, now you're 0 for 4. You could have had 8 more points, maybe 9, 10, because they would have fouled you. They'll get it, but they got to keep sticking their hand on the stove and just say, come on, man. And one of the things I told them this week, and the guys that have played for me, we're coaching individual players to be their best. My staff adds value to individual players or they're not on my staff. Well, they'll say, well, you don't care about winning. Well, you probably haven't watched me coach or been in a practice. You can say that. Not true. But I do know my responsibility is to help every player be their best. I will not live with regrets. They might, because they won't listen. And they'll fight me till the end. Okay? You're going to look back and say, I should have just listened. Yeah. 80 guys get drafted and made $6 billion, 13 All-Stars and MVPs, but you do it your way.
Courtney, can I just, on the front end here, can I ask you that once this season is over, we just do an entire segment on reactions to most viral sound bites from Coach Calipari this year? Because, I mean, sticking your hand on the stove, getting into that bag of tricks over here. They don't want to take what's front of them. They got to dive into that bag of tricks and take the contested threes. I mean, if you want entertainment, he's right here for you. 10 to 15 minutes every game night.
Oh, always. He always has a good soundbite. And you didn't play it, but I do want to bring this up because it is going viral, where he talks about Kentucky and he talks about the season they were having, because that's Arkansas's next game. So somebody in the press conference asked about Kentucky coming up, and he said, look, it won't be as emotional as last year, right? That was emotional, right? Going back to Rupp Arena. I was there for that. it was crazy. That just was so insane, that game. I can't even describe what it was like to see that. But he commented on Kentucky's season, and he said, look, Mark Pope's doing a great job over there. Mark Pope's doing a great job, okay? If you're a Kentucky fan, you need and I'm paraphrasing here, but yeah, if you're a Kentucky fan, you should be happy with the job he's doing, right? And Kentucky fans got a hold of that. And they said, is he trolling us? Is he trolling us? Because we don't think Mark Pope is doing a good job right now. And I don't know if Calipari, again, I don't know. I can't comment on what he's looking at. I don't think he's looking at the scores of other games going into the press conference, but he might have taken a look at that score of Kentucky's game last night because, I don't think fans are happy right now with the way that they are
$22 million roster. That's,
and didn't they go out and correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw this posted on social media where they're in a huddle, like about to go play Vanderbilt, right? And they're in the, in a hallway, right? Or in the tunnel.
Yep.
And they're like 3, 2, 1, like, get that bag or get that money or whatever. They said something about money, and I went, oh.
Yeah, get your money, all right.
Oh, I went, that's not a good look. This is not a good look. This is a bad look. Especially when you just got absolutely cooked. You look like a high school team at points against the Commodores. Yeah. I mean, isn't this a Kentucky team that really was supposed to be good? And supposed to go into the season a lot better than they have. And I don't know. I feel for sending my thoughts and prayers to people in Kentucky right now.
We've been talking about the whole, Kentucky-Arkansas trade and some of these other trades with Arkansas. Boogie Flan going over to Florida. He had one game after he cut his hair and changed his number. I think he should switch back to that number that he wore against Vanderbilt. Coach Calipari coming over from Kentucky. Kentucky's basically in shambles right now. I mean, who knows what in the world is going on up there. But what are some of the biggest, and I honestly think, now that you bring that up about what Coach Cal said, it almost feels like he's trying to be like Lane Kiffin, where he's just trying to, Lane Kiffin would like troll Ole Miss and be like, yeah, they're a great football team. They deserve to be here. So happy for them. But like you're like with the new girl, but you're talking about the old girl.
Yeah, and I know it's so funny because I can't put words into Cal. I don't know personally what he's thinking, but to go in the press conference and say those things so confidently, you have to believe this. This man knows what Kentucky's done this year. This man knows. Now, was it poor timing because they were getting whacked by Vanderbilt at that point? Yeah, probably poor timing, but he knows what they've done this season. He knows they haven't lived up to expectations. And you know what? If I'm Coach Cal, and I'm just going to say it here, Patrick, I'm going to put it out there.
Floor's yours.
If I'm Coach Cal, with the way they treated me, with the way they wanted me gone so bad, with the way they said, yeah, we're going to be better off without you, I'd be going, yeah, how's that working out for you?
Yeah.
How do you like me now?
Yeah.
How do you like me now? Oh, you said I couldn't make it past the first round of the tournament. Well, guess what? At Arkansas, we had a bad start in the SEC, and we still made it to the Sweet 16. You see, Matt? You see that?
And you don't have to pay $22 million to do it.
No, they didn't pay. I can tell you confidently, they did not pay $22 million for the roster they have right now.
Oh, I believe it.
I can tell you that confidently. So you're telling me that they're doing more and they paid less for it?
Ooh.
Spicy. I would be gloating.
Yes.
That's maybe bad of me, but I'd throw in there a few little snide remarks, just a little, and also I love how he said it's not going to be as emotional as last year. And I said, well, yeah, it's not going to be as emotional as last year, but guess what? I know this game is a big one because you cannot get a ticket for it.
Wow.
You cannot get a ticket for this game.
Wow.
Yep. Or if you go on, let's go on SeatGeek and look at the average. It ain't cheap.
Was it like a Cameron Indoor UNC Duke game where it's like $2,000?
I bet it's. I don't know if it's 2,000.
Yeah,
I
that
bet
might
we
be
could
a little
find
extreme.
one that's 2,000. I bet we could. 'Cause
Probably.
of insane people, but definitely a couple. You're definitely going to be spending $300, $400,
Yeah.
$500, right?
Right.
It's not going to be cheap. And two, I mean, I'll insider baseball right here. I know it's going to be big because the media, we can only have 2 people from every outlet. That's how many media members are coming to cover this matchup. Wow. And so usually I can have my full staff there if I want to, but not for this game.
Not for this one.
Not for this one.
not
No,
for
I'm
this
limited to
one.
2 people. So I'll be there because I want to see that game. I want to see what happens. I don't care if it's a blowout. I
You
love
just want to
it.
be there
I'm here.
for what
Yes.
happens. Courtney, I
Mems.
know you're super busy, but real quick before we let you go, we need a crystal ball for this huge matchup.
Okay. So I've been kind of right on my crystal balls.
You've
recently,
been
kind of
right
I've been
more often than
okay.
you aren't.
Right more often than I'm not. But I did say that the Vanderbilt game would be close
Yeah,
with Arkansas, and that was not close.
not close.
So I was wrong there. I didn't think this Oklahoma game would be as close as it was, so I'm wrong there. But I did think they would be wins for Arkansas, so there we go. But
There's that.
I
That's all that
think-
matters.
That's all that matters. So I'm going to say crystal ball.
Crystal ball.
I truly think Arkansas has a lot of emotions around this game. I think they do. I think they do. And they won't say it, but I think they do. And I think they want to show, hey, look how good we are, right?
Yeah.
We can do this. And I think they're going to come out of the gate ready to punch him in the mouth. Now, do I think Kentucky can keep it competitive? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do think Kentucky can't keep it competitive. There's a lot to say when your backs are against the wall, right? And there's emotion for them too. They know what happened. They know the dynamics. It doesn't matter if they played for Coach Cal or who they know what this game means. So they're going to be trying to win it as well. So could it be close? Absolutely. Do I think Arkansas will win? Put your money on Arkansas. Bud Walton Arena Magic. I don't think they lose this
do it
game.
right now.
I don't. Put it.
I'm
right
gonna
there.
do it right now.
That's not legit betting advice, though. If you do not put your house on it, do not claim, any of those things. But I will say, I do think Arkansas. This is the one game where I think you have to. You have to
win this one.
You have to win this one.
Have to.
You have to. And I know the fan base would like to see this too. You kind of have to punch him in the mouth.
Yeah.
You really do. Especially after what Vanderbilt just did. And
Yeah.
you punch Vanderbilt in the mouth.
Exactly.
So you better go out there and show that you're the best team in the SEC right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
You just
They're
have
the
to.
best team. They're the best team in the SEC right now. I'll say that. They're if you look at
That's
the
not
rankings, they're the
far-fetched at all.
highest ranked team.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're the best team in the SEC, prove it. Go beat this Kentucky team that's having a bad season.
Yeah.
Go beat them. Go punch them in the mouth. Go send all those Kentucky fans, back where they came from, crying or whatever. I don't know. I don't even know if they'll be crying because right now they're posting a lot of really nice things about Cal. So I think they're in the what is it? The 5 stages of grief.
5 stages of grief.
I think, what is it when you're like, oh, you're not angry anymore, but you're like acceptance?
Yeah, acceptance.
Is it acceptance?
I guess it.
Yeah.
I guess it would be acceptance.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. But
Okay, well that was my my.
Well, you all heard her.
poor-
So take what you will with that advice if you are a betting person. Courtney seems to be right more often than she's wrong. Courtney, you are the best. We always love having you on the show. Take care. Stay warm, please, and have fun this weekend.
I will. I'm going to have so much fun. If you guys follow me on social media, have some fun with me.
Yes.
Patrick knows this. Have some fun with me. Let me know what you think about this game, and I'll take a selfie in the arena. I'll be giving you the boots on the ground coverage.
Boots on the
of this
ground
one,
coverage. We love
if
it.
anybody wants it.
Courtney, you're the best. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Always enjoy coming on the show.
Courtney Mims, always just a treat to have her on. Great banter there, and great insights onto what should be an incredible matchup here this weekend against Kentucky. Coming up next, we wrap up our number 1 here on this Wednesday of Southeast Sports Plus. Stay with us. Welcome back in here to Southeast Sports Plus on this Senior Bowl Tuesday. We'll get back out to Hancock Whitney Stadium here in just a few minutes. But as we close out our number one here on this Tuesday show, we talked a little bit about the AFC Championship game yesterday. And if you like defense, that game between the New England Patriots and the Denver Broncos was definitely for you. But on the flip side, if you're a more offensive-minded football fan, so to speak, this NFC Championship game had all of that, and especially for a guy like Sam Darnold and what he was able to do in this game. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about how he's the former Jets quarterback. Seemed like everyone wrote him off as a bust. I said wrote him off there on purpose because of another former Jets quarterback that said they ain't write me off. Or they wrote me off, I ain't right back, though, and Geno Smith, before Geno ended up leaving for Las Vegas. So when you look at Sam Darnold's career, he started there in New York, well, technically New Jersey. And then he goes to the Panthers, doesn't really have it. And then he goes to the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan. And what he was able to do under Kyle Shanahan, and this just speaks to the type of coach that Kyle Shanahan is. He puts his quarterbacks in situations where they can thrive. And we saw it this year with former Alabama quarterback Mac Jones. We've seen it time and time again. Some people say Brock Purdy is just part of the system. Sam Darnold has proven over the last year that he is living up to his pre-draft hype and what he was able to do against the Los Angeles Rams. Remember, this is the quarterback that threw 4 interceptions in the first meeting between the Rams and the Seahawks this season down there in LA. Then he comes back, I believe it was second or third to last week of the season, on Thursday night on a short week, still dices up the Rams defense. But again, it took a close game in order for the Seahawks to beat him. What he was able to do in this game, 346 pass yards, 3 touchdowns, QBR north of 82. I think for me personally, the debate's over. It doesn't even matter if he wins the Super Bowl because we're talking about Sam Darnold here. Most sports fans, if you told them that Sam Darnold was going to be playing in the Super Bowl 5 years ago, would have been like, no, funny joke. Funny joke. He probably went as like a backup for, I don't know, Patrick Mahomes or something. He's on the Chiefs now. It can't be possible that he's the starting quarterback for a team that's going to the Super Bowl. Well, that is just the case. And Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald had some words for everyone after the game.
Can't talk about the game without talking about our quarterback. I mean, he just shut a lot of people up tonight, so I'm really happy for him. 300 and something yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Every time they went and scored again, he came back, made some big time throws on third down, the 2-minute drive, the 4-minute drive. The guy barely practiced all week, Just really happy for him. He deserves it. Just been a rock for us the whole year. So just really happy for him.
So that Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith, and Jigba connection has been big time for the Seahawks this year. And then when you pair it with a great defense, which you're always going to get under Mike Macdonald, he is just one of the better defensive coaches in the league. That's just a recipe for success. And a lot of people talk about how sometimes as a young team, an inexperienced team, it's not really that good to have that first week off, but talking in the postseason. But what they were able to do against the 49ers and just absolutely demolishing them, it kind of felt like Indiana in a way. And then you look at this game just going toe-to-toe with the Rams, who just won a Super Bowl not too long ago with that quarterback there, former Georgia quarterback, Matthew Stafford. So, I mean, Seahawks will punch their first Super Bowl ticket since 2015. Obviously, NFL fans remember that one for all the wrong reasons. Should the Seahawks have ran the ball with Marshawn Lynch on the 1-yard line? Who knows? But they'll get a chance to avenge that loss. But flipping over to the other side, it's a tough way to go out if you're Matt Stafford, because he had the tough game against the Bears. And then he comes up, he follows it up with a great game against the Seahawks. I mean, that was probably the worst that I personally have seen the Seahawks defense play all year. 370-plus passing yards, 3 touchdowns. He did everything right for this team. It's just it feels like the defense actually let him down, and it was really unfortunate, especially for head coach Sean McVay. Let's hear what he had to say after the game.
I love this team, and I wasn't ready to stop working with them. Thought we had 2 more weeks together. But I am really grateful for each of those individuals and the collective. It's as special of a group top to bottom as I've ever been around. It's coaches and players included. And, that's what sports, it represents a lot of different things. It's a beautiful thing, though. This game has brought me some of the most special relationships that I'll cherish. That's what this team has done. And this was a special year, and I think it's hard to fathom that it's over. It'll take some time, but nothing but gratitude. That's what I want them to know.
So obviously not the ending to the season that Sean McVay wanted, but a lot of people are starting to talk about, is this Matthew Stafford's last year? And in my opinion, I don't think it is. I think he's going to come back and play at least one more year, because if you're Matthew Stafford, you have a bright future in front of you with the Rams. I know you're starting to get up there in age, and you've gone through a lot of football, but you were playing at an MVP caliber year this season. I just wouldn't expect him to quite say, I think my time is up here. I still think all time, when you talk about quarterbacks, probably top 15. I'd be interested to hear what you all think about that. But in my opinion, he's a top 15 quarterback of all time. Well, that'll do it for our number 1 here of Southeast Sports Plus. When we come back, it's back out to Hancock Whitney Stadium with more Senior Bowl coverage. That's coming ahead in just a few.
In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Gerhard Mathangani.
Well, Senior Bowl practice continues here. Day 2 of action at Hancock Whitney Stadium. All these players getting their first taste of practice yesterday night. Nice throw down there. And that has been one of the big stories from day 1, as now we are rolling into day 2. Hello, everybody. Hour number 2 of Southeast Sports Plus. Hope everyone is having a delightful Wednesday here. And without further ado, let's go out to Hancock Whitney Stadium and get a live update of what's going on out there. Gerhard, how are we doing right now? Hour number 2 of Southeast Sports Plus.
Yeah, Patrick, the energy's really picked up here in the second hour. And we had a team period a moment ago. Penn State's Nick Singleton had a really, really good run earlier. Seeing the offense and the defense really starting to come together there for both teams. The energy, as far as the competition, has really picked up as well here for this second national practice. And in the first one, I would think, spirited team session that we saw earlier today. So it's been a lot of fun.
So it seems like the energy is up. I asked a little bit about the fan experience yesterday. What's the turnout been like today, as we start to get closer to the game on Saturday?
Absolutely. I'll step out of the frame for a second so you can see right a little bit behind me. Inside the stands there, it's actually a little bit more packed than we have seen before in recent years. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that these practices are a little bit later. There's also more people that are behind us as well. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun being able to have the fans out here and the students out here as well. And it really picks up in that 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock practice as well. It did yesterday, and I expect it to as well today. So despite the cold temperatures, we have a lot of people that are that are out here and watching ball. And, of course, there's a lot more people that are in the hospitality room there as well.
Right.
And some coaches that have kind of trickled in, some scouts and some GMs that have trickled in as well. So I really have liked especially this year where the temperatures are super cold. I really like the changeover to the 1:30, 3:30 practice and the 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock practice. It is still cold here, but it does allow for a lot more people to come out here and enjoy these free open practices.
As you mentioned, the national team on the field right now. We'll get a glimpse of the American team in the later practice, but you mentioned Nick Singleton coming out of Penn State. Who are some of the other standouts that you've seen really start to take that next step here on day 2?
Really, the one that I saw that was really strong, and I mentioned him earlier because I saw yesterday where he had some zip on the ball, was the fact that we got 3 to 4, I think, really solid quarterbacks with their arm. 2 in the American and 2 here on the national. I think Sawyer Robertson to me has really shown he's got an NFL arm. You see a lot of these guys. We talk about a lot of these guys. The guys that come out of the Hawaii, guys that come out of the Big 12. No disrespect to those places, but guys that just throw for a lot of yards but don't necessarily have an NFL arm. We've seen that difference. And it seemed to me like he was a guy that could separate himself in that regard. Hey, are you a guy that just throws up against, basketball on grass, so to speak, kind of offenses, or do you have an NFL arm? He's been able to make every single
the
throw
prime
so
Baker
far
Mayfield.
And yes, right, exactly. So we're seeing a lot of that. But I'll tell you what, this offensive line play for this national team, the first team offensive line, the guys that have gone out first, have been outstanding. And they're big until they're all huge as far as definitely the tackles, but also the interior guys as well. So when Saturday rolls around and it's the American team D-line, Huron Crawford, who we talked about a little bit earlier, Tim Keenan, who we talked about earlier, lining up against this national offensive line, that should be the matchup to watch, especially in the trenches.
You talk about that offensive line, and they're going to have to protect Diego Pavia here this weekend. And we've been talking about Pavia as the week has rolled on. A lot was made about his official height measurement that came out on Monday. What has been your takeaway about his demeanor being here in Mobile and kind of how he's holding himself so far?
I think he has shown that he's exactly who he is. I mean, everything that we have seen from him, from the parts that people want to call good and the parts that people want to call not good, the kind of the abrasive, if you want to call it that, if you want to call it cocky, some people call it arrogant, whatever that thing is. And I think a lot of people don't understand at his size. I think that's part of the reason why he's successful, because every single time he has acted that way, he's shown, hey, look, I am that guy. And he's been proven right at every turn. He was proven right in JUCO. He was proven right in New Mexico State. He was proven right at Vanderbilt.
Right.
He's a Heisman Trophy finalist. So he just thinks, as long as I keep this exact same mindset, then he'll be good to go. So I think that he's carried that along with him this entire time. And we got a chance to hear from him just yesterday. Simone Eli went one-on-one. He did an interview, a national interview with either ESPN or NFL Network, and then on the way out of the stadium, Simone Eli caught up with him one-on-one. You'll hear exactly what I'm talking about.
Day 1 Senior Bowl practice in the books for you, Diego. How do you feel like today went?
I feel really good. You kind of get to see what some of these guys can do. It's like, oh, I should just throw it up every time. You know what I mean? But yeah, I had an amazing experience here today. That's why I'm here. You know, at the Panini Bowl. Super thankful for Drew bringing me here and inviting me here. And this opportunity is something that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
What do you hope to prove to scouts, coaches this week when you're out here?
That I'm the best player in the country. You get me, you're going to get someone who's a winner, a competitor, a leader, and someone who doesn't take no for an answer.
What's your offseason been like, just in terms of you wanting to get back on the field and to show people, hey, what you're all about?
I'm a grinder. That's all I've ever known my whole life. I tell this story a lot. Back home, there's not like Melky's been back home. It's not a lot there, you know what I mean, back in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the way I would train is I tell my brother, hey, we're in the road, middle of the road, and he's going measuring out 20 yards with his feet. And I was like, all right, time me. And I'm running a 3.9, 20 yards. I'm like, dude, scoot your in, you know what I mean? I need 20 yards, so, but that's just who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we got to get off the field. I want to ask you, any interviews, meetings with teams, and what have you heard from so far?
Yeah, they put me on the board. They've heard my story. I told them my story just about my upbringing, just the sports that I played and things like that. And I hope, I hope someone gets me, you know, and the team that gets me, I'm going to do everything I can in my willpower. I'll die for the team.
Cool. Diego, appreciate you, man. Best of luck this week, bro. Appreciate it.
So that was Diego Pavia there catching up with Simone Eli. And I think one connection that I'm personally looking forward to seeing here this weekend is two SEC guys hooking up with each other, Diego Pavia and wide receiver Harrison Wallace. Have you seen Harrison out there in practice yet? And if so, what has he looked like so far?
I have. He's looked sharp, very, very sharp so far. And you could tell that there's some of that SEC connection, and we've seen that with a lot of these players. Same thing with some of the LSU guys that are here. Think about a guy like Aaron Anderson and a few others. So no, yeah, we have seen it, and it's been really nice to see because of course these guys all compete, and there's all these storylines that come up away from the field. But then when these guys get together, it's like, hey, they're all in the same job interview. They're all under the same pressure. They're all here talking to scouts, talking to GMs, and hoping to up their draft stock. And so you see that support for each other from Wallace. We saw that earlier. We saw basically the entire wide receiver crew has all been basically supportive of one another. The quarterback room has been supportive of one another. Talked to Sawyer Robinson yesterday. He talked about that. Diego Pavia talked about that as well. So they all root for each other. And so that camaraderie, SEC and outside the SEC, has existed here over the first 2 days.
So let's flip over to the American side now. I know they don't practice until later, but two former Texas standouts that we've been paying attention to all year and really have made an impact for the Longhorns this season are Michael Taaffe and Malik Muhammad. I know we got to catch up with them yesterday. We'll listen to that here in just a little bit, but what has their experience been like? And honestly, you probably got to see them in action a little bit more than I did yesterday. What were your main takeaways seeing them in person?
It was really great seeing him in person. I think with Michael Taaffe especially, this is a guy that was a walk-on not that long ago. Yeah. He was a walk-on, then turned into an All-American. You don't necessarily see that path. But when you talk to these guys, and you and I got a chance to talk to him yesterday, you can see that. You can see it literally right in his eyes. You can see that fire that's right there. And it's kind of a cliche, and people talk about it as a cliche. But you see what makes somebody go from, hey, trying out on the team, zero NIL dollars and all of that. I know he started before NIL and all that came out. But then he got to Texas and he worked. Opposite side to that, you kind of see, not really opposite side, but different side of the same coin. You see Malik Muhammad. Malik Muhammad's a guy, all the intangibles, has the speed, has the length, has the situational awareness, the spatial awareness, and you see a guy like that, and you're like, oh, and you could tell it's there as far as being a pro, a guy that you can see being a pro for a very long time.
He's got that it factor
with both of those guys and having. Exactly, he does. And speaking of, if you go to Drew Fabianich's Twitter page, he actually called him out. He said, hey, this is one of the guys that he was really, really high on. And Fabianich speaking at it from a perspective of a former scout. So being a scout for the Dallas Cowboys, he understands what it takes to play corner, what it takes to play well at that next level. Malik Muhammad's got it. Michael Taaffe has the heart, and he told us yesterday, he said, hey, look, I want to show that I'm as advertised. Everything that you've heard about me from an All-American standpoint, that's it. When we discuss Michael Taaffe, I think about him a lot in the same way I think about Gerhard Mathangani. Two guys that had a great 2024 season. But then 2025, the storyline was that they were injured. They weren't necessarily living up to what was built in 2024. Saw that with Taaffe. He went from All-American to a little bit banged up. And then same thing for Michael Taaffe, for Gerhard Nussmeier, threw for 4,000 yards, came back a little bit banged up. Both guys are trying to show that 2024 version of them is the best version of them, and it'll show up again in 2026 when they're both rookies at the highest level.
Let's take a listen to Michael Taaffe last night.
Yeah, obviously it's hard not to look at the big picture, but I'm just trying to look at it day by day and not just immediate answer train, but I think that makes you play better through this week if you're kind of just looking at it day by day. So I'm really just trying to focus on tonight and then interviews tomorrow and then practice tomorrow and just take it day by day by day because, man, it's a stressful process. I'm trying not to get too stressed about it, but it's hard not to get, look forward and to advance. And so I'm just trying to take it day by day. I'm so blessed. Man, I've played in a quarter system. I've played in a one-high system. I've played in a cover two straight system where I've been the middle runner, where I've been the deep half. I've played in a simulated pressure system where you're still only bringing four, but you're blitzing somebody, you're dropping the end. There goes Manny Muhammad, lockdown corner. So I played in every single system I've played. Strong safety, field safety, star, and so even in fall camp, I played a little bit of corner. So, it's been fun. Man, just been a guy that was significant. Being a disciple in the locker room, being a guy that, when somebody looks back on Michael Taft, it's not all the plays that he made, but it's the guy that he was. And I hope that I left that, and I hate that I couldn't go get the job done, but the other 16, I got a good feeling in him.
So, Gerhard, before I let you go, I got to talk about something non-Senior Bowl related, because you are a noted Patriots fan on this show. And I just have to ask,
very proud one.
What has been your reaction to the news of Bill Belichick not being named a first ballot Hall of Famer?
It's embarrassing. It really is. It's embarrassing. The fact that this is the case and we're talking about this. If you're going to have a Hall of Fame just in general, you're going to honor the best of the best, right? So if you're honoring the best of the best ever, there's a few people that are not debatable. You talk, Michael Jordan in football. In NASCAR racing, you're going to bring up Dale Earnhardt, Richard Petty. In golf, you're going to bring up Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus. You just have guys that the voting should be a formality, and really it should be unanimous. And I'm one of these guys where Ken Griffey Jr. was going into the Hall of Fame a few years ago, and he went in unanimously. And I was of the opinion that if you weren't one of the unanimous votes, then you should have your vote taken away. That's how egregious it is. And so the same thing here with Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick has won 6 rings as a head coach, 2 rings as a defensive coordinator, one of the greatest of all time to ever do it. If you believe the reporting that Bill Polian, who was a former AFC rival with the Indianapolis Colts, he had something to do with this and maybe skewered some people to not vote for Bill Belichick. I feel like not only Polian, but everybody who was influenced by that decision should have their vote stripped away as well, because it embarrasses the process. To me, if you're going to have a Hall of Fame, these are the kind of people you're supposed to recognize. And if you're going to let politics and or personal beef and or whatever you have individually with that person cloud your judgment on somebody's career, then you're not necessarily fit, in my opinion, to be able to vote on that moving forward. And so it's not just Bill Belichick, it's not just because I'm a Patriots fan. I think it's disrupting the entire process. It's a sham of the entire process overall to me. Bill Belichick should have been a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he'll actually probably be a little bit more famous that he did not get in. It's kind of like, do you remember that perfect game that was not a perfect game in Major League Baseball?
Yes.
It was Galarraga.
Armando Galarraga.
And it's almost right. It's almost more fitting that he didn't get the perfect game, because now people remember him for that. I wonder if Belichick will be in that same case. It's like, hey, this is the greatest of all time, not doing so. And at the same time, too, I think this also opens the door. Let's just say that Belichick gets back on the field and he coaches again at some point. Now, there's a couple of vacancies now. Right. I don't think he will, but let's just play a hypothetical world where he does. And then he catches Don Shula as the winningest coach in NFL history. I do think that there's an avenue for that to happen. I think it'll be even better in that regard. But as of right now, if you're a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter, you're looking at everybody who didn't have Bill Belichick on their vote and saying, hey, should we be the people that are the arbiters of who gets in and gets out of this thing? Because to me, it's a sham and it's an embarrassment.
Final question before we let you go about this whole situation. Are you now a little bit concerned that, because one of the things that Bill Polian said was, Spygate and Deflategate, are you now a little bit concerned that this is also going to be the same case with Tom Brady potentially not being a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I think the opposite. I think this will be a deterrent for those guys, because I think everybody who has watched the news cycle over the last 10, 12, 24 hours since this came out, everybody has blasted these people. And I think at some point we will get the 9 voters, I think it was 8 or 9 voters that did not have Bill Belichick on it. We'll get the names of those people, and they'll be blasted, and they'll be embarrassed. And I think because of that, Brady will get in unanimously. I don't think this will be a hampering. I think that Bill Polian, if you were to ask him, I think at some point he'll speak freely on this. Maybe Tony Dungy or whoever said no to this, no to him being in the Hall of Fame. It's actually not really a no, because you're not voting against them, but you're just leaving them off the ballot. So that could always just be the rationale. Oh, well, I thought he'd get enough votes, I wanted to vote X guy in. I don't believe any of that nonsense. But I don't think that this will help. That this will hurt Tom Brady. In fact, because of the reaction, I think it'll help him. And I think he'll end up getting in. But no, it's ridiculous on its surface. And anybody who uses Deflategate against Brady is just insane anyways. But no, I don't think that it'll get him out of it, mainly because of the reaction. We're seeing it from everywhere. Seeing it from the Miami Dolphins. We saw it from the Dolphins head coach. We saw it from T.J. Watt. These were also Bill Belichick's adversaries at one point.
Yeah.
Adversaries, obviously, speaking more tongue in cheek, but these were also people who competed, against them day in and day out. So I don't think it'll be a detriment. I think it'll be a deterrent actually for people not to do it.
So there you go. That's G Money's stance on the whole craziness about Bill Belichick and him not being a first ballot Hall of Famer. I can't believe it. I could talk for 2 hours about why this is a joke, and I mean, kudos to you for being able to give the condensed version, because I'm sure you could talk for the rest of the day about it, but you got to get out there for interviews after the national practice. Gerhard, thank you for joining us, and have fun out there as the first practice session of Wednesday concludes.
You bet, and my venting is not done. We will definitely be doing more of that. But yeah, we're getting some interviews. Her Kalen DeVore, Alabama's coach, is showing up in the next couple of minutes. So we'll get out here, we'll get to work, and we'll see you soon.
Sounds good. All right, that was G Money there joining us from Hancock Whitney Stadium. Day 2 of Senior Bowl practices rolling on. Coming up next, we talk about the Vanderbilt Commodores. They got a really nice win over the Kentucky Wildcats on the men's side, but suffered their first loss of the season against South Carolina over the weekend. We'll have that and more next. Coming at you with another edition of Round Ball Roundup. This is Wednesday's action. Results from last night's games. Mississippi State pulling out that nice 80-66 win on the road against the LSU Tigers. Josh Hubbard with 15 points. Tennessee with a 86-85 win over the Georgia Bulldogs in overtime. We'll talk about that game a little bit more here in just a few seconds. Moving right along, Auburn with a unreal second half that we'll talk about with Noah Gross out of Austin, Texas, about here in just a few minutes as well. Keyshawn Hall dropped 31 points in the win, and I mean, you want to talk about a dominant win. Number 19 Florida dominates South Carolina 95-48. Now let's start with you could dive so many different directions with these games. Let's start with the Tennessee-Georgia game. And this one was just honestly one of the more entertaining games that we had seen all year. Jacoby Gillespie, we had been talking about for a while. He came over from Maryland. Obviously had a really nice year with the Terrapins last year. Derek Queen ended up being a first-round pick out of Maryland last year. And it just seemed like Jacoby couldn't really get off to the start that he was hoping for with this Tennessee team. And it just seemed like, whatever was going on, Tennessee was just always looking for that secondary score. Well, I think they finally found it. And with, I'll talk about their secondary score here in a minute, but what Jacoby Gillespie has been able to do over these last 3 games, I think is exactly what Tennessee went out in the portal and got him for. He's averaging 23 points per game in his last 3 games. Tennessee is 2-3 over that stretch, and it took a miracle Kentucky comeback in order for, or else it would have been 3 straight wins for Tennessee. But what he was able to do, honestly, it has been a little bit surprising. But we had also been talking about Nate Ament all year, and it also seemed like, a lot of scouts are projecting Ament to be a lottery pick in next year's draft. And I believe he scored 29 points in the big-time win over Alabama on Saturday. He followed it up with a 19-point performance, going 7 for 18 from the field, but he adds those 6 rebounds and dishes out 3 assists. This is that dynamic duo that we've been looking for if you're a Tennessee fan. I think I said yesterday, when Nate Ament and Jacoby Gillespie score 20-plus points, they're basically unbeatable. And while Ament scored 19, I'm big on rounding. You can just round up 1. At this point, it's close enough. You can round up 1. I don't see how you can beat this Tennessee team when they both are on their game. And it took everything that Georgia had on their home floor to send it to overtime and everything. And Tennessee was able to edge out that 1 28-point win. And it was also a special victory for Tennessee head coach Rick Barnes. It is win number 850 after the 86-85 win in overtime. And Rick Barnes, we heard from him after the game.
You know, we came back from Alabama, had some good days' work, and really good team. And I mean, Mike does a great job, man. I'm telling you. And we just got our guys. I think they understand that at this level, if both teams play to their ability, there are going to be games like this every night. And if you don't play, you're going to get beat and get embarrassed. And but we got a long ways to go in some areas. But you know, I always use that saying: "Proud peacock today, feather duster tomorrow." You know, you feel good right now, but you can't enjoy it very long because you got to turn around. You got a really good Auburn team coming in, and then as good as you feel tonight, it can be over like that. So it's a matter of understanding you're in the grind of a college basketball season. I think with maybe 6 weeks to go, and this is where separation starts to happen, and we've got to keep getting better.
This is where the separation starts to happen. And I don't know what it is. He's just got that, talking about Rick Barnes, he's just got that special trait in his coaching abilities to be able to lead his teams. It seems like, you know, in the middle of January, they're ice cold. It seems like, you know, all right, we got to start thinking about baseball. But then he reels you back in, and it's just something about his coaching abilities. The teams just buy in 100%. And we're starting to see that now with this Tennessee team. It seems like they're starting to find their footing. They're starting to play into their roles. I know Coach Cal, we played the sound yesterday about how, you know, there's this bag of tricks that everyone wants to dive into. But it's when these guys start to find their roles on this team, and that's when this Tennessee team will really start to take off. As he mentioned, they've got Auburn this weekend. Auburn is riding high after 2 exhilarating wins, one over Florida and one over Texas last night. Let's flip over to the other side, on the Georgia side, and this has become a reoccurring issue for Santos Cerrillo. He just cannot seem to find himself out of foul trouble, and I think, you know, when you talk about pure ability, Santos Cerrillo has this impeccable shot blocking ability. It's one of his strong suits, and he's able to clean the glass so well. But when you just can't stay on the floor because you're in foul trouble, that severely limits how many shots you can block. So it's just becoming an issue here. He's got 2 straight games with 4+ fouls. He fouled out, I believe, 4 games ago, and then he also had the ejection earlier in the year against Florida, so we didn't really see what he was able to do. But we also heard from Mike White after the game talking about the loss.
I thought we fought today, really fought, proud of the effort. Had some plays there late regulation. We had a 2-on-1. We had some free throw opportunities. They had some shots that they made. Ament's a handful, is getting better and better. 24-4 point paints. Paint points is tough to overcome. 26 offensive rebounds. When you give that up, it's just tough to overcome. To the fact that we still had a chance in overtime, despite those numbers, show you that we were flying around and doing some good things.
So let's flip over to another game that was played last night, and this was Florida taking on South Carolina, and I talked about it a little bit. This was one of the most dominating games I have honestly seen this season. Florida scored 48 points in the first half. They needed to score 1 bucket in the second half, and they could have taken the rest of the half off. They could have honestly probably started the plane and head back to Gainesville. 95-48. And honestly, I was trying to find the last time this South Carolina team had gone through something like this, and I believe it was a long time ago. I don't remember the year, but they had a blowout loss up in Syracuse when it was then the Carrier Dome, and the Orange just blew them out the water. And I don't even know how to come up with words on what this actually was, because we had talked about this Florida team this past weekend It was a tough loss against an Auburn team that came in, even though Tahad Pettiford is the only returning guy from last year's Final Four squad that actually had minutes. Obviously, Auburn was one of the oldest teams in the country last year, and they relied on that, and that's what got them to the Final Four. But I think they took that loss a little bit personal to Auburn this past weekend, because I think we talked with Mariah Ross yesterday. You do not want to be that team that comes after that plays South Carolina and Dawn Staley's South Carolina women's basketball team. You don't want to play them after a loss. You certainly do not want to play this Florida team after they're coming off a loss. I mean, Thomas Houck, I said before the year, I think he is actually going to project better than Alex Condon is and eventually take over that role. He didn't really have to do much. I mean, he scored 18 points, and it was an efficient 18 points, 7 of 12 shooting, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc. He had an assist and 3 rebounds, and also blocked a shot. You know, I just talked about Samto Surreal and his ability to block shots, but it's just, me as a competitor, I don't know how you can really come back from losing by, I believe, 47 points. I mean, you lost by double what you scored. So it's an unfortunate situation here, because, you know, I'm really rooting for Lamont Paris. I hope he finds, I hope he rights the ship down there in South Carolina. But we did get a chance to listen to him after the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. We're trying it all. We're trying it all. We did respond well after the Arkansas game. And then we went on the road to play an Auburn team that's, you know, in that building obviously is really hard to beat. And we were right there as it got into the waning moments of the game with a chance to make a couple of plays to come out over the win. So I thought that was significant. I thought that would be the only time we were faced with that challenge, but I thought that was a significant response on in terms of identifying who this team was going to be moving forwards, and so, you know, all kinds of buttons. It's trying to figure out how guys respond and what they respond to, and it's different guys, and it's different things. You know, it's different things. I think we all know guys don't respond to things that they responded to 7 years ago.
I'm going to make a bold prediction here, going back over to the Florida side. And I know I talked about in my overreactions at the end of hour one that one of them was an unreal take in that they're going to go back to the Final Four. I think this team is refocused after the Auburn loss. And honestly, you know, a lot of questioning has been put on how good is Boogie Flan? Did Arkansas end up winning the quote-unquote Boogie Flan trade, where they're like, you know, yeah, you can go somewhere else. You can go wherever in the SEC because we've got Darius Acuff coming in, and honestly, he might be better than you. Is he better than him? I don't know. We need to see how this season pans out, but I think when you are able to rely on Thomas Houck and Alex Condon, they are just a dynamic duo in the front court that can be unbeaten. That can't be beaten. And this team might not lose another game this season. They might, and they also might not. But I just think that this team is much more focused. They know that they can't just walk into any game and expect to win, because what they did against South Carolina, I mean, that's national championship contender stuff right there. All right, we have one more game to break down from last night, and it was one of the more entertaining ones, not just for basketball, but, you know, some chippiness also on the court. We'll go out to Austin, Texas, and check in with Noah Gross talking about this Texas-Auburn game from last night. Stay with us. Welcome back in. Wednesday here on Southeast Sports Plus. Hour number 2 continues on. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, and the recurring theme of this week is the Senior Bowl that will be kicking off on Saturday. I believe 40-plus SEC standouts will be in action. And, of course, when you've got the Senior Bowl in town, you know, the NFL scouts are going to be making their way to the 251 and taking in all of the players. Here's a look at some of the scouts that were in attendance for day 1, and I'm sure there's going to be more in attendance for day 2. Now, when you talk about scouts, most of these general managers for these schools and football programs are going to be talent evaluators or maybe even former scouts. And obviously Jim Nagy over there, the general manager of the Oklahoma football program, is the former Senior Bowl executive director. And for head coach Brent Venables over there, he had honestly one of the more impressive seasons this year of any coach. I know he didn't really do much as the season went on, but what he was able to do came into this season kind of on the hot seat. Some people thought that he would be coaching for his job coming into this season, but some people also took a look at the schedule and was like, okay, you know, we could be talking about the Red River rivalry coming up, and Oklahoma's undefeated, and Texas could be at 3-2. And what was it? Oklahoma undefeated, Texas 3-2. And what does Texas do? They go in and they beat Oklahoma for the first loss of the season. John Mateer, obviously a big factor in that game, ended up throwing 3 interceptions in his first game after thumb surgery. But our very own Simone Eli caught up with Brent Venables yesterday, talking all things Oklahoma football. Take a listen.
Here at the Senior Bowl with Oklahoma head coach Brent Venables. Coach, day 1 of practice. What did you see out of your guys, and how cool is it to have them here?
Yeah, just a lot of juice and energy.
Yeah.
It's really cool. You know, you start recruiting these guys when they're 16, 17 years old, and to be able to watch them here at the back end of their collegiate career, be able to chase their dreams. And one of them is Grayson Halton's birthday today, so we got to be some familiar faces to high-five them and celebrate this next part of their journey. It's a really cool moment in their lives.
Yeah, Coach, it's been a wild ride for you there at Oklahoma because you get put into the SEC. You guys are in the playoff. I mean, how have you just kind of seen your program transform since you took over a few years ago?
Yeah, no, it's been the SEC has helped elevate Oklahoma. And again, Oklahoma's a program that can stand on its own 2 feet programmatically, but to be able to align with the SEC and all of the, you know, the venues and the, you know, tradition and all of the success, you know, the program is represented, you know, the conference is represented rather, has helped us in every way to be able to get into the Southeast and recruit, you know, even more deeply, and then again be able to bring the best out in our program and our players.
Yeah, Jim Nagy has meant a lot to this game. Obviously, a longtime executive director. Now you're general manager there at Oklahoma. What's your relationship like with him, and how has he kind of helped move your program forward as well?
Yeah, Jim and the rest of the front office staff, Taylor Redd and Lake Dawson and Stacy Ford, that group of people. They're first of all the depth of experience they've had in relation to the NFL, you know, player evaluation, how to build a roster in the locker room. They brought so much experience and great wisdom, and they're amazing people to work with day in and day out. Very humble, you know, because this isn't the NFL. You know, this is still college football, and so they've rolled their sleeves up and have helped us, you know, develop systems and programs in place that allow us to manage, again, college football with the NFL front office experience and expertise, and have been able to really help elevate, you know, us and be more efficient in every possible way to build a great roster.
Yeah, Coach, you've been so well respected for your defensive mind for so long. I got to ask you, you coached against Jackson Dart. I covered Jackson there now with the Giants in New York City. What do you see from his game, from a college game, and then kind of what he's been able to do as a young pro in a rookie season?
Just, you know, the number one thing with Jackson is what a great leader he is. He's certainly got incredible talent, but his leadership ability, his ability to elevate everybody around him is very unique. Got great humility, tremendous, you know, talent, but the guts and the toughness. He brings out the best in everybody. And we try to get him. We worked really hard to get him, and Lane did a great job beating us and getting him. But he's a fun guy to root for because he's just first class in every way. But for the people in New York, man, he's got the guts and the toughness that program is represented.
Coach, I appreciate it so much. Best of luck in Norman this season, sir.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
Great hearing there from not only Simone Eli, but Oklahoma football head coach Brent Venables. Let's stay on the gridiron. I know there's a lot to talk about on the hardwood. We'll table that for now. There was a report last night about how what, in my opinion, should have been a first ballot Hall of Fame coach, Bill Belichick, actually not being voted in. He fell short of the 40 of the 50 votes. You're required to garner 40 votes in order to be elected into the Hall of Fame. He was not voted in as a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I mean, the resume on the bottom there just speaks for itself. 6-time Super Bowl champ, 3-time AP Coach of the Year, and 12 appearances in the big game. So who in their right mind would think, that just taking a look at it, no, I don't think you've done enough. I mean, we've seen some guys that have made it in, and some people, scratch their heads a little bit, like, okay, how in the world did that guy make it in the Hall of Fame? I didn't think he really had that good of a career. But here's the crazy, I'll just provide some context here. I was not really a big Bill Belichick fan growing up, just because, like a lot of people, I like seeing new, fresh blood in the big game every year. And when the Patriots would just win it over and over and over again, it kind of got mundane. So, naturally, I'm just going to be like, I don't like seeing Bill Belichick there all the time. He always wins. But at the same time, never in my mind did he think, he's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Is that really where we're getting to at this point? What even is Canton? What even is the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton anymore? I mean, what significance does that hold now? Because when you're talking about easily the greatest coach of all time, this would be like Nick Saban not being voted into the Hall of Fame for college football. Are we being serious right now? And for some voters to come out and just be like, the Spygate and Deflategate scandals kind of, were the overarching themes around this whole situation. Well, I've got an answer to that. What happened the year after Spygate? They went undefeated and lost to the New York Giants. What happened in Deflategate? Well, newsflash, and this is not rocket science by any means. It's science, but it's not rocket science. When the air gets a little bit colder, you know how you've got air in your tires, and people up north know that once the temperature drops below a certain point, the air starts to escape from your tires, and you start getting flat tires. What do you think happens with footballs? Like seriously, what do you think happens with footballs? Do you think, just because it's a football, the air is going to stay in and it's just always going to be fully deflated? No, that's never going to happen. So I just don't understand who in their right mind thought, Bill Belichick, he shouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I'm not really buying the argument of some people being potentially like, I think Bill is going to get in, but I'm not going to vote for him because I think, he's going to get enough votes. I want to vote for someone else to potentially get in. That I just do not buy at all. So what you're telling me is 2 scandals, which, by the way, he ended up winning more Super Bowls later on in his career. I mean, what are you going to say about that? Are you just vacating 2 just because you're mad that he ended up winning? Like what is going on? I feel, in my opinion, the Hall of Fame is a joke now, and it's completely lost its value because Bill Belichick should be in the Hall of Fame without a doubt. I mean, this is like Derek Jeter. And I grew up not really a big Derek Jeter fan either because, as you may know, I'm a Mets fan. Never in my right mind was like, no, he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. He shouldn't be a unanimous Hall of Famer. I knew, as a sports person, I can recognize greatness. And no matter if they're going against my teams, if they're rivals, I can still respect greatness. So it's just a shame because, as I talked to Gerhard about earlier, what is this going to do with Tom Brady's legacy? Because obviously Brady was there for Spygate and Deflategate. So what are you going to say when it comes time? And I believe it's about 2 or 3 years from now when we're going to start seeing Tom Brady on the ballot. Are you going to say he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer because of Deflategate, because of Spygate? Are you going to say he's not a Hall of Famer because of those and then went on to win more and went on to win without Bill Belichick as well? So what are you going to say about that? The Hall of Fame has lost its mind, and I'm honestly glad that so many people are speaking out about this monstrosity because I just cannot believe that this is still a thing. I refuse to believe it because this is the greatest NFL coach of all time, and he's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Everyone has lost their minds. This whole thing makes no sense. Unfortunately, the Hall of Fame has lost some of its value, and it definitely, the voters definitely lost their integrity there because, it's just a shame. And I know some people might have their thoughts about the Baseball Hall of Fame with, the PED users and a lot of people that, ended up juicing during the 90s didn't really get in. And I mean, there were some that got in. Most notably, I believe David Ortiz. There were some scandals and accusations around him, but he ended up getting in. So it's just unfortunate that Canton has come to this, and Bill Belichick will get in. He'll probably get in next year, but there's always, at the very least, he's going to be talked about for what seems like forever because this has honestly been the biggest joke in the history of the Football Hall of Fame. That's my rant. That's why I think, this has just been crazy because if it's not crazy to you, then I don't know. This is just crazy to me. But anyways, coming up after the break, we will wrap up this Wednesday edition of Southeast Sports Plus with some more predictions of tonight's SEC men's basketball games. Stay with us. Closing up this Thursday edition of Southeast Sports Plus, let's take a look at some of this weekend's games in and around the SEC. These will be the Saturday-only games. Florida and Alabama will tip off on Sunday. So at noon, the Texas A&M Aggies will take on the Georgia Bulldogs. Buckyball looking to head over to Athens. Potentially, if they pick up a win, could they be ranked next season? Or next week? We'll see. Obviously, they have to come out with a win there in that one. Texas will face Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. Obviously, Texas took home the win in the football matchup this season at the Cotton Bowl. And then Mississippi State will travel up to Missouri at 2:30 to take on the Missouri Tigers. And then LSU and South Carolina both coming off home losses, look to rebound at 5 o'clock. And then moving right along here, Kentucky will travel down to Bud Walton Arena and take on Coach Cal for the second time since Coach Cal left the Kentucky program. That tip-off is set for 5:30. And this is an interesting one. Ole Miss will take on Vanderbilt. This game was originally supposed to be played in Oxford, but due to the ice storm, they're actually going to play the game in Oxford later on in the season and move this game to Nashville. So Vanderbilt will have a home game this weekend. And then wrapping it up on Saturday will be the Auburn Tigers facing the Tennessee Volunteers. And I know I did not put the Florida the Florida Alabama game in there, but we'll also have that one as a bonus one for our weekly predictions that we like to do right around 3:56 here on this program. So this will be the Saturday games, and then I'll add the bonus one with the Alabama-Florida game at the end. Texas A&M taking on Georgia. There's no lines on any of these games yet. I think when I take a look at this game, obviously it was a tough game for Georgia this past weekend. going into the Moody Center, where I still think, bad things just happen there. I mean, just take a look at Texas A&M. They hadn't won there since it was built, and they hadn't won in Austin in a long time, and Bucky McMillan was able to do that. So, I mean, you got to give him props. But for Georgia to come back against Tennessee and suffer another close this one was a close loss in overtime last night, that's got to hurt. And I still think Bucky McMillan, the first time he plays these teams, they think they know what Bucky ball is, but they don't actually know until they play. So that's why I think Texas A&M is going to pick up the win this weekend over Georgia on the road. Bucky McMillan and the Texas A&M Aggies will be ranked come Monday. Texas at Oklahoma. This is another interesting one because, Oklahoma is looking for their first win since the SEC opener against Ole Miss earlier this month. And Texas is coming off that tough road loss last night, as we just talked about, with Noah Gross to Auburn. But they had that 20-point win against Georgia at home. They're going to stay on the road, even though it's a lot closer to home. I think Texas ends up winning this game. I just haven't seen enough out of this Oklahoma team to warrant anything, that they can be consistent. And it was a tough loss to Mizzou over the weekend. They had the 2 buzzer beaters. Mark Mitchell ended up winning the game in overtime with a buzzer beater 3, and it definitely hurt this Oklahoma team. But they're going to rebound at some point. I just don't expect them to come up and be able to knock off this Texas team. I think Texas bounces back. They're going to be committed now if they want to make this tournament. Kentucky at number 15, Arkansas. The first game that Kentucky will go to Bud Walton Arena without Coach Calipari. I think Arkansas gets the win here. I don't know if I've seen enough. I know Kentucky had that 5-game win streak. But if you take a look at the games that they played, they went down by 18 to LSU. They did end up coming back and winning. And then they went down by a lot again, came back and won against Tennessee. So it's just, at some point, you just can't rely on these second-half comebacks. And I think a lot of us said that about the Denver Broncos this year. You were always waiting until the fourth quarter, and then Denver, I believe, had a plus 135-point differential in the final quarter or something crazy like that. You just cannot rely on that. I think Arkansas comes out. They're going to be motivated. Darius Acuff is going to have a nice game. But as Courtney Mims has said on this program a lot, it's going to be those seniors and juniors and some of the older guys that really need to step up for this team. But I am pretty confident that they'll get it done. Ole Miss at Vanderbilt. This one, obviously, very unfortunate with the whole news around the weather this weekend. And obviously, hope everything in Oxford gets better soon. I do believe Vanderbilt gets this win. Mark Byington, he came out, and the Commodores made a statement this week against Kentucky. So I believe that Tyler Tanner has a nice night, and they end up winning there. Auburn at Tennessee. Another interesting matchup. It could go either way. Auburn is riding high right now. Are they going to win? I don't know. But actually, I'm going to go with Tennessee Volunteers, because it seems like Rick Barnes' coach teams just get better as the season goes on. And I told you I had one extra one. Alabama taking on Florida. Give me the Crimson Tide. Charles Bediako, he makes his impact. Thanks for watching this week. We'll be back on Monday with more Southeast Sports Plus. Thank you.